Hello, a very good evening. Welcome to Sochi. This is RT's special coverage of the 2014 Winter Olympics, which has just kicked off with a glittering opening ceremony that, as we're speaking, is still continuing. My name's Kevin Owen. Hope you can stay with us.
I'm Minister Nawe. Wow, what a show it has been so far. I'm having a little trouble staying focused because it's still going on, to be completely frank. They promised it would be one for the books, and they really took that promise to heart, didn't they, Kevin?
Yeah, absolutely stunning, simply stunning. It's we just watched the whole thing through over our shoulders there and on the telly as well. It's been really amazing, real riot of colour, sound and excitement. I tell you what, I don't think the people taking on the next task of putting on a show are going to be very impressed with it, because it's such an uphill struggle to meet what they've seen here tonight, isn't it?
For sure.
Certainly, the bar's certainly gone up.
Well, now it's up to us. We'll be here for the next 3 weeks to bring you all the latest and brightest moments of these games here in Sochi.
All the incredible victories, all the sporting records we expect from the renowned athletes who are here from around the world. There'll be barely time to catch our breaths, indeed. It's going to be quite a marathon.
Let's be modest, Kevin. Come on, we are not alone here. RT has a top team in Sochi, the correspondents who'll be going to the competitions and hanging out with sports fans to bring us some of the raw emotion.
Yeah, and of course our producers as well, they're scouring the Olympic Village for famous faces for us and you to meet too.
Let's just say we've set some traps and have scattered some special agents around Sochi to gather the gossip and exclusive to share with you here on RT.
But if this is the first time you joined us, as you can see behind, this is the coastal cluster. The view behind us is fantastic. We've got a great spot for our studio here. That's the whole of the coastal cluster Olympic Park. All those arenas dotted around. You'll hear much more about that in detail very soon. Yes,
this is a part of what's known as the coastal cluster, like you said, of these Olympic Games. And somewhere downtown in Sochi is Paul Scott, who can tell us what's there.
Paul, hello. Can you hear us?
Yes, well, I am here in Yes, I can, loud and clear. Good evening to you guys. I'm here in central Sochi, the city that has been planning for this moment for 7 years, and hundreds of spectators who weren't fortunate enough to get one of the hottest tickets in town for that opening ceremony have been enjoying the spectacle on one of the many live sites around the region. It's a communal area for spectators to gather and watch on giant screens. There's one just a few hundred meters behind me. We are actually near Sochi port, where, believe it or not, during the day temperatures can rise into double figures, up to 15 degrees Celsius. This is the coastal cluster where the indoor ice events are going to take place, and it's those contrasting situations that have led the organisers of the Sochi 2014 Winter Olympics to decide on the slogan, "Hot, cool, yours."
Certainly hoping it will be. That's what's happening down by the coast, and there's also, of course, the mountain cluster as well, isn't there, for all the outdoor sports. That's just 40 kilometres away, at least 500 metres up from where we are now by the sea. There, manning that station for us tonight's Andrew Farmer.
Good evening to you guys. Yeah, I'm actually stood among the mountains of Krasnaya Polyana. It's only a 30-minute drive away from you two, but it is a world away from those swaying palm trees down at the Black Sea. Up here will be the skiing, the snowboarding and the sliding events. I'm actually stood in a very picturesque village called Rosa Hutor, which has been built specifically for these games. There's a live site just a few hundred yards behind me, and you might be able to hear that. We're going to give you a tour of this place a little later on, plus also a tour of the sporting venues that have been built here. There are 5 in total, and we'll be having a look at those, plus trying to explain to everybody why there will be snow at Sochi 2014.
It's going to be much cooler up there in the mountain cluster. At least we're warm in here, toasty. We're really enjoying the glamour of it all.
Well, talking of glamour, when you talk about glamour, you think Martin Andrews, or at least some of us do, because we've got to work with him. He's been a regular in Sochi over the past few months. He's been here for several days already. He's already fit to bursting with the backstage gossip, aren't you? Hey?
I can't wait for the parties tonight, that's all I can say. And what an amazing ceremony so far. We've had music from Kismet, Stranger in Paradise. We've had excerpts of almost Cirque du Soleil items too. It's also very interesting that the games actually started yesterday, and lots of people are asking why on earth we would have an opening ceremony after the games began officially yesterday, and that's because in fact this is the first time they've had 12 extra events added to the Olympics. So,
and that's just since Vancouver in 2010.
That's right, since 2010. So, so amazing.
Trying to squash it all in.
Trying to fit it all in. Of course, we've got the Paralympics. We've got the medals they were delivered. We've got them to see. The design of the medals are superb. They're sort of like a patchwork quilt with a see-through design of the coast and the mountains, with French, Russian and English writing on, and lots to look forward to. Parties tonight. We've got the fireworks.
What a stunning event that was just now. I mean, the use of the amazing spectacle, wasn't it? I kind of wondered how you could top London, but I guess a lot of people, depending whether you're Russian or in Britain tonight, would be saying, oh, well, we think this is better. What do you think?
So I think that lots of people, to be fair, were asking and hoping Russia would fall, and they haven't. They've really risen to the occasion, and just an amazing job, and lots to look forward to.
Okay.
Right, well, you will not be leaving us. We're going to have you here with us throughout the night and throughout the entire Olympics.
Yeah. Well, it's Russia's home Olympics. It feels like almost everyone at RT has been there, isn't it? Visiting the events in recent months. We couldn't take everyone to the actual games, though, could we? Oh, dear. There are a few left back in the studio. Hi, guys.
Yeah, hello, Kev and Anissa. Enjoying yourselves a bit too much at the 2014 Sochi Olympics. Thanks very much for that. We'll speak to you soon. What Kevin doesn't actually know is I found the keys to his Porsche, so I know what I'm driving home tonight. I'm Rory Suchet here in Moscow, and I am gathered here with a group of our closest colleagues. In fact, let's introduce all of them here. We've got Ivor Crotty, editor Ivor Crotty, at the far end of the table. Nice to see you, Ivor. Kate Partridge as well, the host of our RT World Sports. A pleasure to have you on. You must be thrilled about what we're getting into tonight here with Sochi going on, the big kickoff going on tonight. And James Brown, our residential intrepid explorer. You've been all over the world's largest country, and you've got some details to tell us all about Sochi 2014. In fact, if I can just perhaps start with James first here. You're talking about the travel of the Olympic flame. It's been up, it's been down, it's been all around. Tell us about some of the highlights of the journey of the Olympic torch.
Well, if there was ever a definition of an epic journey, the torch relay certainly qualifies. It's been through all 83 regions, 135 cities. I've been to it to the Pacific coast, through 9 time zones of Russia, and even beyond. In fact, my first... the torch has been making history continuously. I was with it when it took a journey to the North Pole on a nuclear icebreaker. I was with a group of scientists from the 8 Arctic nations, athletes, people who've contributed to Arctic research. We made a world record-breaking journey to the top of the world, where we then did a torch run on deck with -20 winds, with I'm sticking the torch up my jumper in an attempt to keep it warm so it doesn't freeze for my torch bearer. Yeah. And then you're there for a moment of history when that torch is lit at the top of the world for the very first time.
Yeah, amazing. We went to the top of Mount Elbrus, so that is at the highest peak in Europe.
That's right.
Down to Lake Baikal, into the murky depths of Lake Baikal. Why do you think they had to take it so far down into the world's biggest freshwater lake?
Well, I think you're talking about something which is an incredible natural highlight of Russia in the first place. And again, it's something that the Olympic torch has never done. So you're lighting the torch underwater, which I didn't know, but that can be done, assuming you have a flame that can burn at 2,000 degrees Celsius. So not exactly terribly common, but we were working with one of the rescue rangers who'd been chosen to be one of the torch bearers there to start the whole thing off. He took it down, passed it along underwater to 2 other torch bearers, and then, if that show wasn't enough, we then had the Birdman of Baikal fly it back.
I saw that. James, we were showing that footage, some sort of weird jet ski maneuver.
Yeah.
It jumps out of the water, and anyway, it's technical, but it's very, very impressive. James Brown, you've been all over the place with the torch. Fantastic stories you've got, and more of your stories on RT.com as well. Kate Partridge, the host of RT World Sports. Look, you've been counting down the months, the weeks, the days, and now we're down to the minutes here. The ceremonies kicked off the Olympics. Why is this such a big one this time around?
I think it's because it's part of a wider sporting legacy. I mean, this is the 22nd Winter Olympics. It's the biggest sporting event to take part in Russia since the 1980 Moscow Olympics. Now, why is this such a big event? Why is this part of history? Well, I think that goes back to Vancouver 2010, when Russia finished a disappointing 11th, I should say, overall. 15 medals, 3 of them gold. And the Russian government looked and thought, well, winter sport has always been our bastion, it's been our stronghold. So what they did is they set about systematically changing the heads of sporting federations. They invested, I think it's an estimated $1 billion into promising athletes. And they also set about in creating what is the biggest post-Soviet construction site, which of course was turning a a subtropical climate place like Sochi into a winter sporting venue. And so they've done that as part of this legacy. It's also on the back of an investment in sport that's been going on throughout the year. So we had the University Games in Kazan, we also had the World Athletics, and also we're going to have a Formula One race in Sochi. We're going to have the first Grand Prix in Russia for a century.
There are a lot of firsts that are taking place in Sochi for the 2014 Winter Olympic Games. In fact, we have some comments from some sporting legends and Olympic medalists talking about Sochi. In fact, we can just pause and have a quick listen to this right now. All right, guys. Well, I do apologise for that. No, guys. Just a moment, guys. To my director, Mike, in the gallery, guys, just stand by. I'll be with you in just a moment. As you're getting your technical glitches together, I'm going to cross over to Iva Crotty, our newsroom editor here. You talk about Twitter trending in the world. The hype and the chatter, globally speaking, is absolutely epic. Iva, what can you tell us?
It's been a busy week, Roar. Yeah. It's been a really busy week. I'm pretty glad it's over. Tell you the truth, it was pretty noisy for the start of the week. There was a lot of mudslinging going on what Kate and I have managed to call the 22nd Twinter Olympics.
The Twinter Olympics.
Yeah, why not?
Very,
why
very
not?
funny.
I think we'll hashtag it. We might see what comes out of it. But yeah, it's been a really noisy week. But obviously, I think as social media becomes a more powerful phenomenon and people start to share their experiences more, you know, great events like the Olympics become something that are part and parcel of everyday life. I'd like to be able to show you some global trends that we've got on the wall.
Yeah,
I'm not going to show, but I don't see the map coming up right.
We're very low on time at the moment. In fact, this is a faux pas in live news. So, Director Mike, are we ready to show some of these Twitter trending maps with Iva?
Yeah. No, that might
no,
not
you're not.
Okay, not to worry. Well,
do you know what? They're spreading all their attention on Kevin and Anissa down at Sochi, and you know what? It's not surprising. In fact, I'll tell you what. Let's get it back down to Sochi now. Kevin and Anissa joining us back live here on RT International. Back to you. Hope you're enjoying yourselves.
And we've caught it.
Welcome back to RT's Sochi Olympics studio here in the Russian Black Sea, on the Russian Black Sea coast.
Yeah, they say down there the opening ceremony is the face of any games. Every host country tries to showcase its unique character and culture to reach the hearts of millions of viewers worldwide.
And of course, to surpass its predecessors in brilliance and scope of the performance. The opening ceremony is still going on here in Sochi. Do you feel the Olympic spirit of competitiveness?
It's been fab. I didn't feel as much yesterday, I have to say, but I would have been here for 48 hours, but it's been building up all day today. Everyone's been really smiley today, and actually the weather helped. It's been beautiful weather. It's a beautiful starlit night, a bit chilly tonight, but it's super, absolutely super.
You're a Brit, be honest. London Olympics opening ceremony was phenomenal.
It's hard to beat, isn't it?
How did Russia do, according to you?
I didn't see all of it. I'll be absolutely honest with you. I didn't see all of it. The bits I saw, because I was busy working on the programme here, I was kind of looking over my shoulder at the television and looking at the fireworks. The fireworks are amazing just now.
There's more to come.
Are they? Oh, good. We should bring you that when it happens. It looked fantastic. Colour, spectacle, the light, and a lot of technology was used as well. I shouted over at you because you went, wow, look at that. I said, what is that, Anissa?
It was the graphics on the floor, just phenomenal, spectacular.
Fab show. And it's still going on. It's been going on now for what?
About
2.5 hours.
2.5 hours so far.
Okay, well, let's get some more details on it. As I say, I didn't see it all because we've been here. Paul Scott has been watching the opening ceremony in full. Let's cross to him again. Paul.
Yes, good evening to you guys. Well, it's been 7 years in the making, hasn't it, this opening ceremony? We were promised a high-tech pyrotechnic display, and that's exactly what we've witnessed. Now, as you say, it is still ongoing at the moment, but let's recap what we have seen. Obviously, any Olympic Games is all just really about the athletes, and there are 3,000 of them competing during these Olympic Games from over 80 different countries, and they emerged rather uniquely for this opening ceremony from the centre of the stadium, from a ramp in the centre of the stadium rather than from the side, as is tradition. As I say, we were promised pyrotechnics, we were promised fireworks and state-of-the-art technology used in this opening ceremony, and that's exactly what they've delivered as in a condensed journey through Russian history as well. It's started off with a reference to the emergence of Christianity, the Orthodox Church in Russia, before going on to a nod to Peter the Great, of course, and Russia as an emergence as a great naval nation, before a nod to what Russia has given the world in terms of art and culture. Over the years, there was a reference to Tolstoy, War and Peace. That might be exactly why the opening ceremonies are still going on. There was a giant train hanging from the ceiling. It really was a spectacle. There was audience participation as well. LED lights were given to each member of the audience. They had to hold it up at any specific moments. The lights would go off automatically, and it was red, white and blue, of course, the colour of the Russian flag. It really was a joy to behold, a fantastic spectacle. It is still ongoing, and of course, one of the best kept secrets about any Olympics opening ceremony is who is going to light the Olympic cauldron. At this stage, we still don't know who that is. There are rumours going around. It's only a matter of time now before we find out the answer to that. And of course, that's the moment that really defines any Olympics opening ceremony. We all remember Atlanta 1996 when Muhammad Ali lit the Olympic cauldron. We were also treated to a number of speeches by Dmitry Chernyshenko. He's, of course, the president of the Russian Organising Committee. President Vladimir Putin, of course, who's overseen all the entire event, really. He's given a speech, as has Thomas Bach, who's the president of the International Olympic Committee. And it's a really poignant moment, I suppose, in many ways for Thomas Bach, because this is the first Olympic Games that he has overseen. He's replaced Jacques Rogge only in the autumn, so it's a big and important and special occasion for Thomas Bach. He's just delivered his speech inside the Fish Stadium behind you guys, but I got a chance to catch up with him a little bit earlier on, and I asked him for his impressions of Sochi as a host city for the Olympic Games.
Sochi can really set a benchmark, and if you look at the concept of the Olympic Park, this is a real unique concept to have all the ice sports in this one park together. When you see the sports facilities, the Olympic villages, there we can be very, very confident that the athletes will have excellent conditions here during the Games. This is the most important when you see that they are living in walking distance from their competition venues. They can walk over and start to compete or to train, and all this in state-of-the-art venues.
Well, Thomas Bach there, the president of the International Olympic Committee, saying that Sochi is ready to welcome the sporting world. Let's just get further reflection on A, the opening ceremony, and B, Sochi as a whole. I'm joined now by David Di Gregorio, a travel writer and a blogger as well. First things first, let's just get your reaction to what you've witnessed, the opening ceremony. Pretty spectacular, wasn't it?
It definitely was. I was very impressed. You know, I was lucky enough to sit through the dress rehearsal earlier in the week and then watch it on TV now, and it's definitely a daunting task to, you know, fit an entire country's culture and history into a 2-hour performance, but it's even harder to do it in a way that's just as enjoyable for those in the audience in person and for those on TV. And getting to see both, I feel like they really accomplished that, so I was most impressed.
Now, you've written a blog called Why Sochi Could Be the Greatest Winter Olympics Ever. There's a lot of negative press. There has been a lot of negative press in the build-up to this. You think that Sochi could be the greatest Olympic Games ever?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I think there's two things to look at. There's the games themselves, which no doubt will be a success. I mean, you have more countries participating than ever before. 88 countries, half a dozen of them, it'll be their first appearance in the Winter Games. You have more athletes coming than ever before. You have a dozen new events that have never existed in the Olympics before. All of those things will make the games themselves fantastic. On the bigger than that, you have the host country. You have the host city, Sochi. I've been very impressed. I think it's exceeded my expectations both in infrastructure and accommodation. I know there's been an unbelievable amount of negativity around it, but I haven't experienced any of that firsthand, and I think everything is going to go great.
Some of in the build-up to these games, a lot of the negativity was surrounding, firstly, the location of Sochi, the choice for Sochi in the first place, so close to you know, the Caucasus, the unrested region. There was negative reasons about Russia's human rights records. Why do you think there's been such a reaction from certain parts of the media?
Well, I think it's a bold choice, Sochi, especially 7 years ago, when there was really nothing here, and you know, you're looking at a competition of cities that are much more developed. If you look at something like Vancouver, who hosted and spent about $7 billion to prepare for the Games, then you look at Sochi, you have to spend $51 billion. that's a big difference. And you know, if I had been on the selection committee, I don't know if Sochi would have made sense then. But now it's a completely different city than it was then, and it will host a great games.
David, thank you very much for your time. That's David De Gregorio, a travel writer and blogger, joining us here on RT. Kevin and Anissa, back to you guys.
Okay, Paul, thanks.
Well, for 7 long years, Russia has been working, in fact, to make this sporting festival come alive. In 2007, the country won the right to hold these Winter Olympics.
Yeah, you say long there, it's odd. It's kind of gone really quickly. And I was on air with our then head of sport, Alexei Nikolov. He's now a director general. He's done well for himself. But I'm just saying, I remember when he said at the time, 7 years, we'll be covering this. I thought, yeah, not 7 years, gosh. It's flown by, absolutely flown by, gone so quickly. But so much work has happened. Of course, it wasn't just the 7 years building up to this, it was the years before putting in the preparation to put the bid in the first place. So I guess you're talking 10 years.
It's flown by. I was in Guatemala for the bid when they announced it, and I have to say, while I was there, leading up to the announcement, not many people thought Sochi would get it. I mean, the Russian Olympic Committee was confident, but the Russians that were there were waiting, and only when they won did I realize how powerful this was going to be for Russia in bringing the country together. At the time, it's just bringing goosebumps back to me thinking about it, really. It was the first moment I realized what it would mean. Lots of fierce competition back then against Salzburg in Austria, South Korea's Pyeongchang, and Russia, of course, coming out on top in the end. Let's have a look back at that very moment.
Olympic Winter Games in 2014 are awarded to the city of Sochi.
This is RT coming to you live from our studios here in Sochi at the coastal cluster of the Winter Olympics. Really good to have you with us. Now, possibly one of the reasons why Russia did win that bid was curiosity, the curiosity factor. The whole world maybe wanted to see what the Russians would do with this first subtropical Winter Games. And this area where we are is subtropical. We always knew it was going to be a real challenge. We were reporting on this in the first place, and we won. We thought, how are they going to do that? But what I've seen, certainly so far, I don't know about you, but it's really been impressive, really been impressive. Fingers crossed, though, of course, my optimism pays off for the next 3 weeks for those athletes as well.
The Olympic part has been constructed exclusively for these Sochi Games. All this built from scratch, just behind us, on a patch of land roughly the size of Monaco. That's about 2 square kilometers. It includes, of course, the main Olympic Stadium Fisht, where the opening ceremony is still going on, just about to wrap up. We're hearing 5 other arenas, the Olympic Village, Media Center, and much more.
Yeah, it's a really unique location. In front of us here, which is the mountains that you can't see, the snowy peaks on one side, then you've got the Black Sea just over there on the other. Sochi lying on this very narrow strip of land between the sea and the mountains. What struck me first of all when I came here is that right behind this futuristic complex, you've got the beach, you've got the esplanade, you've got palms, you've got seagulls. It's a great place.
Did you pack your swimsuit? There's some Russians who actually do swim at this time of year.
It's still a bit chilly. No, well, yeah, yes, no, but there's no swimming on this programme, so you're not seeing my legs, missus.
All right, too bad for that.
Right, this location was just one of the winning points, of course, for Sochi. Neil Clark is a renowned British journalist. He kept a close eye on London's games. Let's see if he's on the line now. Let's talk to him live to discuss what else could have helped win over the tough Olympic committee judges. Neil, are you there?
Hello, Kevin. Good evening to you. Hello, can you hear me?
Ah, what is modern technology? Yes.
Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Neil. It's Anissa here as well with Kevin. Tell us, as you see
Hello, Anissa.
Why do you think the International Olympic Committee plumped for Sochi in the end? Why did they get the bid?
Well, absolutely. I mean, if we look back at the history of the Winter Olympics, and I've written a piece for the RT.com website about this, this is the 22nd Winter Olympics. The first Winter Olympics was in 1924. Since that time, America's held them 4 times. France 3 times, Canada twice, Japan twice, Italy twice, France twice, and Russia has never held them, or the Soviet Union before that, and that's a glaring omission really, because I think Russia is the biggest winter sports country that has never hosted the Winter Olympic Games. So when the bid came up, it was time to decide. I think it would have been pretty unfair if Russia had not been awarded the Games, because, you know, America's had it 4 times and Russia hasn't had it once yet until today. So I think that was really the main reason, I think.
Neil, as you're talking, stay with us, because I want to talk more to you, but just over our shoulder, I just want to give you the view of what's actually happening over our shoulder now. Some of you can see some amazing fireworks there, and the Olympic torch has just been lit in this. Wow.
That's it. The Games, I think we can say, have officially been, have begun. Torch lit by legendary ice skater Irina Rodina and legendary hockey player Tretiak. I have to admit, I don't know his first name. Can we get his first name so I can tell our audience who actually... Vladislav Tretiak, who is a legendary Russian hockey player, of course, a huge sport in Russia. And Irina Rodina, I'd like to say, who is the mother of our former star Alena Minkovsky, who used to work on RT. She lit the torch along with him, yeah.
It's a small world, isn't it? I didn't know that.
It is indeed.
Okay, back to you, Neil. Hope you're there. We just saw a bit of history making over our shoulder. We couldn't leave it, even though you're a very important guest. Now, Russians feel proud of having the Winter Olympics, of course, in this, what is this subtropical zone? Got snow peaks, as I was saying to our viewers just now. One side warm, sea just several kilometres from each other, really, at the end of the day. But that was also a point of controversy, wasn't it? And derision from the critics. Was it a good choice?
Oh, I think it will be a very good choice. I think when we talk about being subtropical, I mean, Sochi isn't Miami, it isn't Africa. I think the average temperature there in February is about 9 degrees Celsius, so we've got to get this into perspective, really. Many people will be thinking that Sochi is some sort of very, very tropical, very warm place. And of course, we've had problems in Winter Olympics before with very high temperatures or mild temperatures. Let's think back to Vancouver, where it wasn't in a subtropical place, but the temperatures were quite high. There was rain, snow had to be brought in. Even going back to, I think, 1928, the speed skating had to be abandoned because of the mild weather. So I don't think the subtropical thing is such a big problem, really, as has been made out. I think Sochi is a very accessible arena, a very accessible place. It was a logical choice in many ways, even though some would perhaps argue that the other alternative would have been in Siberia, in the Western Urals, perhaps. In Western Siberia.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are saying it would have been cheaper to hold it elsewhere. While you're talking, we've seen the Olympic flame and some great fireworks, but keep with us, yeah. I mean, what is the answer to that? End of the day, was this the right place? I mean, it's a daft question, really, because it's here anyway, but I mean, could it have been
it's certainly got
somewhere equally as spectacular and save money, or what?
I think the only alternative, Kevin, in Russia would have been in Siberia, in Western Siberia. That would have been the only alternative, but Sochi had advantage over that. It may have been too cold in Siberia, and also, of course, Sochi is more accessible for people coming from Western Europe, and I think that might have been a big factor. It's a good meeting place. It's a great place, and I think that once you decide that the Games should have gone to Russia, which I think we all agree it should have gone because Russia hadn't held them before, I think Sochi was a good place to hold them. And I'm sure, you know, judging by the amazing opening ceremony, which I thoroughly enjoyed, it's going to be a very successful Games, and those people who have been knocking the Games will have egg on their face, I think.
Neil, as you've been speaking, a bit of history's been made. Nice to see you as well, Neil Clark. There's a bit of history made. We saw the fireworks going off and that torch finally lit here. The Games are underway.
Fantastic.
Right,
cheers,
Kevin.
Kevin.
It wasn't all smooth sailing, though, of course, as has been well documented. There were a couple of incidents when torches flared up in the hands of some of the people carrying them. The bearers burnt them a little bit. I also remember those first awkward moments, don't you, when a gust of wind blew out one of the flames. Bystanders stepped in with a lighter. Quick thinking, though.
That's right, yes. And some bright spark at the lighter company was quick enough to take advantage of this, although the firm was on the verge of actual legal action for publishing the photo with the Olympic logo and advert slogan. Tough laws on that. Zippo saves the Olympics. Anyway, this kind of thing is not uncommon for the Olympic Games, and it failed to diminish the inspiration brought about by the torch relay. Please tell us what's next.
Ah, there he goes. Andrew Farmer. Small delay there with us. Andrew Farmer, hope you can hear us. RT's got its very own Olympic torch, of course. We saw it being thrown there by that guy, but you got your own. You captured it as a bit of a trophy, didn't you? Our correspondent James Brown caught it at the time.
I did, Kevin. That's right, he's a lucky man. Actually, if you see a lot of smoke and you can hardly see me, you can hardly hear me, there's an enormous fireworks display. Yeah, exactly. That does mark the end of, well, it marks the beginning of these Olympics, but also officially marks the end of the torch relay, which I want to talk about if you can hear me. That's covered 65,000 kilometres over the last few months across the length and breadth of Russia. In the last couple of days, it's been up here at Rosa Hutor before it went down to Sochi to wind its way to the Olympic Stadium. During that time, it was carried by famous people, including the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and also the pole vaulter Yelena Timbayeva. But it all started, this torch relay, 5 months ago, and it started in the ancient Greek city of Olympia. That's where the first Olympics were held over 2,000 years ago, and the whole ceremony basically wound back the clock to 700 BC. An actress dressed as a priestess did the honours in lighting the flames. She used the powers of the sun, if you remember, and a parabolic mirror. And also, she used a bit of olive oil, I think, to light that flame, and then she used that to light the torch. It had a quick tour for a week around Greece, and then it came to Russia. But how did it get to Russia? I found out.
I can't hear what he's saying, can you?
Not at all. Tremendous fireworks show taking place behind us. We can barely hear who we're talking to, but we do have many people to talk to, including RT's James Brown, who's back in the studio and can tell us more about the torch.
Yeah, James, he got that torch earlier on, as we were saying. James, are you there?
Yeah. James got the call there. James.
Well, there we are. Absolutely deafening there at Sochi, the kickoff to the 2014 Winter Olympics. And what a show Kevin and Anissa are having there. Poor Andy Farmer, he couldn't hear anything, could he? Getting caught right in the middle of it. Well, I'm Rory Souchet. Thank you very much for joining here for our special coverage of the 2014 Sochi Winter Olympics. I'm joined by some of our most cherished guests from RT International. Over here is James Brown, our intrepid explorer you've been all over Russia. We'll get to you in just a moment. Kate Partridge as well, the host of RT's World Sports. We'll talk with you in just a moment. You've got some names and highlights to talk about the upcoming sports, as the sports have been getting underway. And editor Ivor Crotty, a pleasure to have you. At some point, you're going to be bringing us onto the map of a global, as you said, is it Twinter Olympic?
Yeah, keeping an eye on the Twinter Olympics.
Oh, yes, such a clever man, Ivor. We'll talk to you very, very soon indeed. James, I wanted to have a chat with you. You've been all over Russia. You've been tracking where the Olympic torch has been going. We've seen it go down to Lake Baikal. We've seen it going up to Mount Elbrus. But can you give us some of the highlights of the journey that you remember clearly?
Well, absolutely. I mean, these games are going to be a window from Russia to the world. So we know how much has been invested in them. We know how much the president has invested in them, in their success. Is Sochi ready? Well, we've got 2 weeks of great sport to find out. One thing I can tell you for sure is that the Russian people are very ready for these games. All the way across the country, in all the cities I've visited from here to the Pacific coast, you have an incredible reception to the torch and the Olympic flame arriving in the cities. There's something, when that flame comes into the city, you get that sense of enthusiasm that the Olympic spirit really does light up people. So in places like Yakutia in Mirny, where it was minus 40 degrees Celsius, people would come out, they would cheer along the torch bearers, and it's infectious, that enthusiasm that comes with it.
I mean, it really does bring the world together. You get the sensation of it being a global event. You talk about, is it Yakutia? You mentioned people coming out in minus 40 to show their appreciation and to welcome the torch.
So you have that Olympic flame literally sort of heating everyone up, at least from the inside.
They need it.
With the Olympic spirit, I think. Yeah. But you also have a sense that these people know that this is likely to be a once-in-a-lifetime event for them. They're probably not going to see another Olympics in Russia in their lifetime. So that's something to be cherished, and they feel that. And that is something that's very special.
Well, you're a very lucky man to have been tracking the Olympic torch across the biggest country in the world. Certainly it's been to some extreme places, James, much like yourself. And talking of extreme, RT's Kate Partridge, the host, Miss Partridge of RT World Sports. You've been chomping at the bit ever since Russia was awarded this Sochi Winter Olympics here. Talk to us about some of the athletes, some of the competitions here. You've got your eyes on some big names, haven't you?
Well, Absolutely. I mean, as we said, it's the biggest sporting event to take place in Russia since 1980. And at the 1980 Olympics, there were 60 countries that didn't take part. But this time round, we have 87 national Olympic committees and some star-studded names for a Winter Olympics. And if we could look at some of them, looking at the foreign stars that were coming to Russia, the first one of these is Shaun White. Now, Shaun White made headlines right at the beginning of the Olympics on day one because he pulled out of the slopestyle event. But he's bidding for a third consecutive half-pipe gold.
Shaun White, doesn't he have a funny nickname?
Yes, he's the Flying Tomato.
The Flying Tomato.
Absolutely. He used to have long, red, flowing locks.
I remember.
That was part of his trademark, but he cut them off, apparently, for a children's charity, and he donated his locks for children who'd lost their hair through medical treatments.
Oh,
an amazing guy, ex-Games legend, and of course, he's, as I say, he's focusing now on going for a third consecutive half-pipe gold, and that's in the snowboarding. And if you move from snowboarding, then going on to the alpine skiing. Now, the alpine skiing is actually noted, particularly this time round, for a big absentee, and this absentee is the USA's Lindsey Vonn. Lindsey Vonn won the downhill gold in Canada and has had to pull out through injury, which kind of opens up the alpine skiing for the women very much so. You have Michaela Schifrin, who's an American teenager who learned how to ski on her parents' drive. You have Slovenia's Tina Mays, who absolutely lit up the World Cup events. Germany's Maria Hervel-Riesch, and of course Vanessa May, who isn't expected to win any medals, but is going to be competing for Thailand. That's her father's nationality. And in the men's, Ted Ligety, Marcel Hirscher, Axel Lund-Svindel, all the big names are expected to star in the men's event. But the biathlon, now the biathlon has always been a Russian kind of heavyweight, a grande sport, and of course the Russians are going to be very much in there, particularly when it comes to the team events. But when you're looking at individuals, then you're looking at the French, Ukrainians and Norwegians. In terms of the French and the sprint champion, you've got a guy called Martin Fourcade, who's a defending champion. He's going to be going for gold as well. And the Norwegians is a guy called Olli Einar Bjørndalen, and he's in his 6th Olympics, and he's going for a 12th medal.
Wow.
And then in terms of moving away from the biathlon, you go to figure skating. Of course, we've had the great news that Yevgeny Plushenko is back for Russia after all his injuries, leading the team event at the moment. But in the ladies' event, we have a lady called Yoona Kim, who is the darling of South Korea. She's the defending champion. She wants to go out on a high at 23 and retire at 23. How nice that would be.
Oh,
having won absolutely everything and defend her title.
Incredible.
That would be great. But there's a couple of Russians also in there too. There's a lady called Yulia Lipnitskaya and another called Adalina Sotnikova, and they did fantastically at the Euros. They lit up the Euros in Budapest about 6 weeks ago. So they'll be going for gold too. And then let's go to the luge, and then we start going down the track events, which are great. And then it's a case of old versus young, or young versus old. You have a guy called Felix Lok, who won Olympic gold when he was 20. He's absolutely incredible, against a guy who's Italian called Armin Zergler. And Armin Zergler, I think he's 42 now. Yes, he is. And he's going in his, I think it's his 6th Olympics. And they're also up against a Russian guy called Albert Demchenko, who's in his 7th Olympics. He's 42. So these are the guys who are going to be lighting up the luge. But in terms of the skeleton, then that's actually something for the British women to have a look at.
Yes.
It might actually be a goal for Britain. We have the current world champion, Mr. Shelley Rudman, and also the World Cup holder, which is Lizzie Arnold, and an American called Noel Pikus-Pace, who'll be pushing them all there. And in the men's, it's Martins Ducours. He's the famous Latvian, which used to be where all the Soviets got their gold as well from the Latvians years ago. He'll be going for gold along with Alexander Trichikov. And finally, let's come to the curling. Now, the Russian ladies team, I think they did extremely well in the Euros. They came 6th in the world. But really, again, an opportunity for the British to shine. The Scottish are the world champions, and Eve Muirhead will be leading the British chase when it comes to rolling the stones as skip for the great British team. Who knows?
Wow, well, good stuff indeed, Kate. You've been keeping a very close watch of the Olympics, and we'll be checking with you throughout the evening. Very quickly, Ivor.
Jamaica bobsleigh.
The Jamaica bobsleigh, yes.
Cool runnings.
Cool runnings,
guys, we don't have the time. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Listen, we've got to cross live back to Sochi now here on our RT International. We continue our live coverage with Kevin and Anissa. Back to you two.
Yeah, hello again.
All right, well, let's get down to the serious side of these Olympics. We need to talk about, of course, security. That's what's on everybody's lips and in everybody's mind when it comes to such a big event as these Olympic Games.
Yeah, naturally, it's always better to be overzealous and cautious than regretful end of the day. From what I know, Russia was well aware of how serious the situation could be from the very beginning. Right now, apparently, different levels of officials from the organisers of the Games right up to Vladimir Putin over our shoulder here himself are all involved in this. They're up to speed with it. They say security here is first rate and everything in their power is being done to guarantee the safety of all the athletes and all the guests.
Well, what's the point of revealing security measures? What we're hearing is that the tactics are meant to be.
You heard a lot in London. You heard where the guns were being put on top of it.
It was very public.
Yeah.
And the idea here is that you have the tight security, but you don't make a show of it so that people can have a good time. That's why they came to the Olympics in the first place. So not to be too intrusive, visitors can enjoy and make this visit a memorable one.
Well, let's put that to the test. Martin Andrews had a chance to see it firsthand. He's joining us again now for a quick chat about that. Martin, you've been here for a couple of days before us. What's the vibe that you've been picking up?
Well, the first thing, I've not seen any missile boosters or rockets on any apartment blocks like they had in London, and it's really important that we look at the fact that Sochi here isn't an isolated event when it comes to security. Security is a vital subject in G8, conferences, sporting events all around the world, and every single time we have such a public event like this, they talk about security. Obviously, there have been problems with terrorism in Russia, as there has been in America and most countries in the world. But
it's usually something that unites the United States, Russia, Britain.
Well, that's one thing I would say has been unfair, the fact that they had the tragic Boston bombing, 9/11, 7/7, and lots of people have sort of united. We must go and visit, Boston. We must not stop shopping in New York. But other people have almost had a different opinion with Russia. People actually cancel their flights to come here. People are scared. People have got this old Soviet, Cold War mentality from 30, 40 years ago, and it's not like that. I was walking around earlier today. It just feels like any other European city, and all my friends are messaging me on Facebook and Twitter and all this and saying, Martin, please be safe. And actually, the reality is Sochi is now the safest city on the planet, and it's not. It doesn't feel like a prison. It's relaxed security. Every single building you go through, you've got the airport scanners. It's tight, it's professional, and it's secure.
Still hear the helicopters zooming around us. They've been going at it for about 3 hours now as this opening ceremony took place. And of course, throughout the games, security will continue to be tight, I assume.
Of course. And also, we've got to look at other things, such as the Cossacks. They're involved. They're the traditional ethnic men. They're warriors of law. And also, we've got the technology that's involved in the security. And also, animals, from sniffer dogs to horses. And with more regarding that, take a look at what I have to say with security over the next few months. Air defense missiles, drones, sophisticated sonars capable of detecting submarines, and high-speed patrol boats. A vast array of high-tech gear is being deployed to make Sochi one of the safest places on Earth. With any global event, security is the #1 priority, and no expense is being spared to achieve that end at the 2014 Winter Olympics. A ring of steel is in place around the city, and no one, from residents to workers, can enter without an official pass. But it's a case of high visibility and minimal fuss.
Many of the athletes have been saying that back home they saw very negative media coverage about the Sochi Olympic Village. Some were even afraid to come here. But when they arrived, they started wondering what all the bad press was about and were very impressed by what's going on here. They say there is much less hassle and discomfort, especially when it comes to security checks compared to previous games.
But it's not just about tighter controls and manpower. Police officers are undergoing extra training for mounted patrols that have distinct advantages at such events.
We were called here ahead of the games. Mounted police are more effective during mass events. Officers tower over the people and have a better view of the crowds.
The beefed-up security, including assistance from the US government, is primed to keep a protective eye on locals and visitors more than ever before. I've come to the Sochi Police Department to discover a new way of multilingual public communication, policing and security. This is new 3D virtual technology, which is going to be placed soon at various public locations in Sochi. Although it could never replace real officers on the street, it's an experiment that could prove extremely useful to the future of public assistance. So you found a suspicious object. Let's see what our virtual police officer says you should do.
You should immediately call the police and maintain a distance from the object.
Popular already in helping at transport and commercial help spots. If our digital public servant friend here is seen as a success after Sochi, expect to see many more 3D virtual assistants dotted around other Russian cities. Almost 500 Cossacks, warriors of Russian law, will also be on duty at various Olympic locations. With their traditional black hats and coats with epaulettes, they will be on standby to assist the police.
Cossacks have been guarding Russian borders for centuries. We're traditionally based in southern Russia. We know the region and its people very well.
A Cossack's job is to offer assistance, spread safety, culture and peace to various religions and people from different countries. A Cossack normally patrols without any weapons. They can only stop a crime in progress, and they can only call the police and wait for the authorities to arrive. So as the population of this Black Sea resort swells by the thousand, whether it's sniffer dogs or horses, patrol boats or Cossacks, Sochi's visitors and locals are certainly in good hands. And with an estimated 100,000 police, security services and armed troops here, the aim is to ensure that these will be the safest Olympics in history. Martin Andrews, RT, Sochi.
Well, live with us on the line now, we can join a very special guest, Steven Seagal. We're not sure about our connection. He, of course, is the philanthropist, diplomat, martial arts master, to say the least,
actor.
And Hollywood blockbuster actor. Steven, I hope you can hear us. Security is...
I mean, I'm not getting any of this.
Security is... I'm afraid I can tell already that Steven can't hear us. I'm going to try to throw my question at you in the hopes... All right, we have a technical difficulty with that. Too bad. Steven Seagal with us on the line. Hopefully, we can try to get him back on the line. We do have another guest, no less special for us, on the line. Asher Pert, Russian and Central Asia expert, joining us. Of course, many threats ahead of the Olympics. Is it more about spreading fear? Why such the heavy atmosphere ahead of these Olympics specifically?
Well, I mean, there have been various threats. I mean, most notably back in July, there was a domestic terrorist group that threatened the Sochi Olympics. But really, I mean, the situation is where the terrorists will win, where people are actually scared to actually go out of their house. And participating in sport is a human right. And what we need to see is people actually taking part in these games as they would completely normally. The terrorists will win if people don't attend and take part in these great games.
Asher, it's Kevin Owen here with Nissa as well. I mean, some countries issued warnings, indeed. They went as far as that for their citizens to even stay away. Others gave recommendations that amount to travelling kind of to a war zone. Does that really tally with the level of risk? I mean, I remember an Arab friend of mine saying, you know, have faith in Allah, but tie the feet of your camel. You know, you've got to take precautions whether you cross the road or you enter a war zone. Russia is not a war zone, much to the security environment is such that you are fairly safe entering the Sochi security zone. So that's sort of the idea that you're under threat in that sort of area is completely wrong.
It's Anissa here again. Russian authorities insist security is first class, but they're not revealing too many details. We touched on this before. Where is the line, do you think, between reassuring the people that they're safe and giving the game away, letting them have a good time?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I think we've seen quite a lot already. We've seen high visibility. When you go into Sochi Airport, you know that you're being checked on arrival. The standard procedures are all there. But we're used to this. I mean, since 9/11, any American travelling outside of the US, any person travelling out of London will know that there's high security. The security, security services across the world do know that to take precautions. So this is just simply, it's like it's dangerous to be there, but you've got to understand that basically the threat levels are such that people do need to take certain precautions, and we can see that throughout Russia.
Asher Pert, thanks for your time. Thanks for being with us on what is a monumental night here. History being made in Sochi tonight. That Olympic flames burning over our shoulders. Saw some great fireworks earlier on as well. It's been a great night.
Well, the crown jewel here in Sochi, at least for tonight, is certainly the Olympic Park, which you can see behind us. RT's Paul Scott is there. Take us through what's been happening tonight.
Yes, good evening to you guys. Let me just, it's hard to believe, isn't it, that the land behind you just 7 short years ago was a barren wasteland. If you look at it now, there are 6 state-of-the-art, high-tech sporting venues. Let me just take you on a miniature tour of the venues that we do have in that coastal cluster. The jewel in the crown, if you like, is the Fished Stadium. It's where the opening ceremony has just concluded. It's fished with a T at the end, and it is named after a nearby mountain. It's where the opening ceremony has just concluded and where the closing ceremony is going to be held as well. No actual sport's going to take place during the Sochi Winter Olympics. Now, one sport that Russia do have high hopes in and always do relatively well in is, of course, ice hockey. And the men's final is going to be held at the Bolshoi Ice Dome. 12,000 fans can be held inside that Bolshoi Ice Dome. Bolshoi just means big, it means great, and of course shares its name with the Bolshoi Ballet Theatre, which is the famous theatre in Moscow. Now, just 300 metres walk away from the Bolshoi Ice Dome is the Shaibar Arena. Shaibar is the Russian word for hockey puck. It seats 7,000 people and is going to host a number of other hockey matches, including a number of women's matches. Now, one of the most thrilling sports, one of the most thrilling winter sports is, of course, the speed skating. There are thrills and spills and dangers on every corner. That's being held this year at the Adler Arena. 8,000 people can be housed there. Then we come on to the Iceberg Skating Palace. 2 sports are going to take place in the Iceberg Skating Palace. You're going to have short track speed skating and also figure skating. Figure skating, another sport that Russia traditionally does well in. Now, those 2 sports, they require a different sort of surface, a different sort of ice, and the process will take around 2 hours to transform the surface so it's suitable for one and not the other. And finally, we have the Ice Cube Curling Centre. Curling, one of the more bizarre winter sports. You'll have seen it. It's the ones where they basically sweep the ice. 3,000 spectators can be held there. And bizarrely, although it's not a winter sport nation, Britain has high hopes for a gold medal in the curling. But it's not just the sports venues that are in that coastal cluster behind you. You have the Medals Plaza. That's where every single evening the gold, silver and bronze medals are going to be handed out to the successful athletes. 98 sets in total. That's where the tears will be shed, the anthems will be played and the flags will be raised. And the names of every gold medal winner is going to be etched onto the stairs of that plaza as a permanent reminder of the time that the Winter Olympics came to Sochi. Also is the hotel for the IOC members and the Athletes Village. Now, the Athletes Village takes over 1/3 of the Olympic Park. It's 47 buildings. It houses around 3,000 athletes. It's where they're going to eat, sleep, train, live, and of course, basically just socialise over the next 3 weeks or so. And the unique thing about these games is the compact nature of it. 80% of the athletes staying in that village will be within a walking distance of their sporting venues, which is a first for any Olympic Games. And finally, you have the Media Centre, the International Broadcast Centre, which is going to be housing thousands of the world's press over the next few weeks. There are hundreds of plasma screen TVs and massive satellites as well. And that concludes your guide around the coastal cluster.
All right, RT's Paul Scott taking us through the infrastructure of it all, the buildings. I want to make a little bit of a change of tone. Martin joins us back in the studio. And
what you got there, Martin?
He has
a very large change of
him.
tone. It's not shopping, and they're not just cuddly toys. These are the mascots.
Souvenirs? No.
Souvenirs. There's one for you each. You can have the snow leopard, Kevin.
Snow leopard.
Bear.
That's right, and you can have the polar bear. That's
right. Now tell us about the significance. Now, it's the polar bear that's
well, first of all, before we talk about the actual mascots and who they are, I want to talk about actually how they were chosen. For the first time in Olympic history, they're actually done as part of a television program, which is great. There were 24,000 people who applied with their designs, and there were 10 finalists. One of the finalists actually was Ded Moroz, which is the famous...
Didn't make it in though, did he, in the end?
Well, that's right. Ded Moroz,
Father
Frost is the Russian Father Christmas, if you don't know at home. And basically they thought that, well, they disqualified him because they thought that they didn't want the ownership of this Russian national emblem to go to the IOC. So they also thought about including a dolphin. Many of the residents here in Sochi actually wanted a dolphin to be included, but these were the final winners. Who do we have here, Kevin? We have the snow leopard. The snow leopard is from the Central Asian areas of the mountains, the Kyrgyzstan and China here, and they've all got little characters as well. You also have to talk about the importance of these mascots. They're not just cuddly toys.
So what's the importance of the leopard?
Well, but the three of them together is also the fact that they unite children together, and the fact that they're from the area. The leopard itself, we saw Putin yesterday in the National Sochi Park going to the rehabilitation, so that he went in the cage, rather him than me. And they do have individual characters. They've got little stories. They're quite cute stories there. The leopard, for example, he loves snowboarding. He's a mountain rescue worker.
Okay, what about polar bear?
The polar bear is from the Arctic Circle, as we know. Only 25,000 of them left in the wild, so we're trying to keep them and promote the fact that we're looking after these animals.
And the rabbit?
It's not a rabbit.
Oh, whoops.
Rabbits burrow. This is a hare.
This is the doe hare I was talking about earlier.
That's right, the doe hare. And the doe hares have
bad if I admit that I've never heard of a doe hare
before. It's a female hare, isn't it? For the hospitality.
Do you know what a doe hare is? Yes, of course.
Yeah.
Well, they use them to eat, actually, but let's not talk about eating now. Let's talk about saving them.
And the sign is for hospitality. And
the sign is for hospitality. Well, this hare, the story of the hare is that it's a female as well. You have two males there. And the female hare, she's at school, she wears top grade, she works with her mum in the restaurant, so they've all got cute stories. And there are lots of books and lots of cartoons, all to go together with the Olympic ceremony and the
again, more inspiration for the young ones then, yeah?
and the coming weeks.
They're quite cute.
Very nice. Can we be able to keep them, or just give them
back?
Can I
really have this? I'll give it to my son.
You know what? Yes, you can. You can keep them.
You're all heart. Martin Andrews, thank you very much. And of course, Martin with us for the next...
You do your job.
Oh, I've got to give it away. Oh, well, bye. Now, hopefully, we were trying to talk earlier on to blockbuster actor, very famous man, Steven Seagal. We couldn't hear him. He couldn't hear us just now. Hopefully, he is on the line again. We've tried to get another connection to him. Steven, can you hear us? You're live on RT International on our special programme from Sochi tonight.
I hear you, brother, with your lovely English
We want to talk about
accent.
security, sir, because we know you know a lot about that. Bless you. Security is always a concern, isn't it? Not only at large sporting events, but also political ones as well. What are the main challenges we wanted to ask you in ensuring safety at events like this? What do you think about it?
I think that the president of the Russian Federation is an extremely intelligent, brilliant world leader and tactician. He is someone who was the head of the KGB. They have FSB now, who are some of the best intelligence folks in the world. I'm told that they have close to 70,000 security personnel on the ground in Sochi between the different branches of police, FSB, Spetsnaz, and Alpha Spetsnaz. So I would agree with some of the folks who are saying that Sochi is probably one of the safest places around right now. Now, there is no such thing as a completely secure area in the world. However, I think the world, you know, and all of the different countries that are participating in the Olympics are all very concerned about trying to make this a wonderful experience, and everybody's cooperating and working hard in their own prospective areas to make this a secure and wonderful experience.
Steven, just a couple of days ago, President Vladimir Putin thanked foreign nations for helping to provide security here at the Olympics. Yeah, we can hear you fine. The U.S. is also involved. How exactly do you think countries can work together?
Well, I mean, obviously, most of the world stands together against terrorism. Most of the world have their own people participating in the Olympics. Most of the people in the world understand how hard the Olympians try. They put all of their life, their time, their effort, their discipline into this one moment to be able to appear and do their very best for their country. And I think that as a world, we all support each other to try to make any Olympics anywhere in the world a secure, wonderful event where politics are kept out of it. And I think that the United States of America has certainly lent any and all of its assets to try to support this kind of an attitude.
But because it comes down to practical measures as well, doesn't it? Obviously, no host country wants to intimidate its guests. How hard is it, do you think, running a major security operation like the one that's going on around us at the moment, but keeping at the same time relatively low profile and not getting in everyone's way? Getting that balance right.
Well, I mean, I have spent some time with some of the FSB folks and the Spetsnaz folks, and I think they have.
It's okay, Stephen, there's a delay. We can still hear you. Please carry on.
Are you hearing me? Yes, so what I was saying is,
please carry on.
I've spent some time with some of the FSB and Spetsnaz folks, and I think that they are a very, very experienced. They have a lot of experience in anti-terrorism, and I think that they are going to do a good job to be unobtrusive and out of the way.
All right. Steven Seagal, thanks for that. I'm sorry about the few little technical sound issues there.
Let's lighten it up a little bit. We talked about the security. A big thing, of course, in the Olympics is what people wear. We can't go on without talking about that. Each country that hosts the Olympics goes out of its way to make it unique. Fashion is part of it. They want it to be memorable and to fill the event with its own style and flavor.
Yeah, each nation, you know, sending their athletes to Sochi also wants us to stand out as well, of course. They want to put their bit of flair in it, and it seems that these games have another title to aim for as well. Let's talk fashion now, shall we? Andrew Farmer's been checking the designs and labels of different teams' Olympic kits.
Before these Olympics even began, they were breaking records. They are the most expensive. They will have the most number of athletes and will have the most number of medals up for grabs. But in my opinion, they could also be remembered for being the most colourful. This is the tracksuit for the volunteers, if you get my drift. And that's just for starters. The German athletes have turned up in these eye-popping garments, kaleidoscopic toggle coats, and their trousers aren't exactly toning down the outfit. The American athletes got Ralph Lauren to design theirs, a dazzling cardigan the result, a knitted patchwork of stars and stripes and big pockets. Then there's the bold pants of the Norwegian men's curling team, a sort of zigzag homage to their country's flag. And I haven't even mentioned the Mexican skier. You might not see Prince Hubertus on the podium, but you won't miss him on the slopes. His ski suit resembles a bolero jacket and tuxedo. Striking costumes for striking gold. They are literally the game's brightest talents. Andrew Farmer for RT, Sochi.
Well, it's all quite clear for the athletes. For them, the Olympics, I should say. I got to get used to saying that. It's a lifetime dream and the main challenge and reward for years of their hard work. So their focus will be on performing as well as they can, of course. Sochi has provided some world-class sporting facilities, and hopefully everyone will really be happy with them. So far, so good, at least from those we've heard from.
Let's get a little more now down to earth, though, a bit grassroots. Talk about the spectators, because they're the important ones as well. For them, seeing the athletes compete and cheering on their favourites is just part of the joy, of course, of visiting the games and the fun that it brings.
First of all, we have roads. We have so many roads from the city. It's because before we had so much traffic. Now it's gonna be much way better. And here, it looks in the village here. It looks so much. It's so cozy. It's so nice. I think what I heard from the tourists, they love it. They just love here.
I've been a fan of ice hockey for many years, and Russian ice hockey for me is the best in the world. And so it's something to me, I associate coming to Moscow. Thinking of good, strong ice hockey teams that they always come from Moscow. And that's my passion, is ice hockey.
I've had a chance to walk around the Olympic Park, and the venues are absolutely beautiful, and I'm excited. Skating got started last night, and it went really well, I think.
Being in Sochi now is good for many things. To begin with, you can bump into celebrities who are here to join the games as well, talking to some of them online, but we've been speaking to many of them here in the Olympic City.
Amazing. I mean, I'm so blessed and I'm so happy to perform here tonight. It's super nice. It's so impressive what Russia Sochi put up here. I'm just in front of the Olympic Park.
You can swim in the Black Sea in the same day as you can drive up an hour to the mountains and ski in some of the best slopes in the world. And you know, no one really believed me, and I hope that everyone will be able to experience this on their own.
Yeah, see all the big names talk to us. Great to see them as well, isn't it? And there's plenty more to come too over the next 3 weeks or so. A good chance then to rustle up a precious autograph or photograph. I think Instagram's going to be busy over the next couple of days and weeks.
So what else do you and can you do between the competitions? Tabang Matse got into the tourist mode to explore Sochi from their perspective.
You've bought your tickets, flown thousands of kilometers from all corners of the globe, and now you're in Sochi for the 2014 Winter Games. So when you're not watching the skiing, hockey or skating, what else is there to do? Well, the perk of a Winter Games in Sochi is a tropical coastline on the Black Sea. Beaches and parks alongside monuments and museums allow you to take in a bit of history and experience the lifestyle. The beachfront is lined with local shops, so grab a souvenir while enjoying the views of the Black Sea. And at night, get your party shoes on, because when the neon lights are lit, the bars and clubs come alive. The Rosa Khuter ski resort is lined with European hotels, restaurants and shops. At least one luxury hotel offers 5-star accommodation just a step from the slopes. Guests enjoy stunning mountain views, designer rooms and an on-site spa and health club. I went to see the best that money can buy.
What they need to look for, I think, is the personal needs, what they want. If you look for skiers, you want to have a cozy hotel where you feel warm and relaxed in the evening. That's what we can offer you here. We have state-of-the-art slopes, we have state-of-the-art equipment, connection and infrastructure. So I think for skiers, it's just the perfect spot to choose.
Finally, some relaxation and a spa treatment is a temptation for any skier visiting the Black Sea Resort, and a banya is just the place. Having been in Russia for a while, I've never really been to a Russian banya, or what is also known as a Russian sauna. But now I'm in Sochi, and the world will be congregated here during the Winter Games, and I thought, why not give it a try? Something traditional and Russian. So let's see if the British banya is using the right twists. Sometimes equated to a Turkish bath, the banya experience is usually considered an indispensable pit stop on the journey to discover Russian culture. When you first arrive, there's a sense of serenity in the air, incense burning, meditation music in the background, and a cup of herbal tea to calm the body down. The felt hats we're wearing are banya hats, typically worn to protect the head from this intense heat of the sauna. The masseuses are friendly, experienced, and share some health tips about what the Russian banya does for the body. The experience? Amazing! I also had one more treatment to test out. This will become one of those places that all the spectators and athletes might want to visit. Never thought that I'd find myself in a big giant pot, but this pot will be a melting one. Tabang Matse in Sochi, RT.
A very hot place to be. Now, asking a foreigner about what they'd associate, of course, with Russia, though, and I'm sure among the first images that spring to mind will be banks of cold snow, icicles, being wrapped up against the biting cold. It's not quite like that.
And so a little bit of vodka when it gets cold.
Yeah, maybe. Well, not in Sochi anyway. This is one of the very few places in Russia where snow is not guaranteed, not even in February.
Yes, for example, right now the temperature in the coastal cluster is just a couple of degrees above zero. It's into the double figures by day. It's a subtropical winter.
Yes, and no wonder then that the major concerns for organisers, also brought derision from cynics too at the same time, was will Sochi have enough of the white stuff, the snow, which is of course essential for all those outdoor sports? Let's direct that question, shall we, to Andrew Farmer. He's high up on the slopes.
Yeah, hi there, guys. Well, if you were looking at the weather over the last couple of days, you might be concerned because it actually has been very sunny, and there's no forecast, substantial forecast for snow during the whole Olympics, but we shouldn't panic, and that is because a huge amount of snow did fall in the run-up to these games, and temperatures, we are told, should hover around 0 degrees and maybe just -2, -3, which should be enough to keep all that snow in place. But if temperatures do rise and things start to melt, there is an action plan, a plan B, because the biggest snowmaking system in Europe is now in place, and basically there are 4 elements to it. Firstly, tons of snow have been stored under special blankets up on the mountains. That snow was gathered from the snowfalls from last year, so if things start to melt, that fresh snow, well, I say fresh snow, that real snow will be put onto the slopes, and then that will be combined with artificial snow, because there are also something like 400 snow cannons up on those slopes. They've been strategically placed and they're all plumbed in to the local mountain lakes, so they will then make artificial snow if that's required. We've also got special glue on the slopes. It sounds very strange, and I'll keep it simple, but this glue has been placed just under the snow, and it allows the snow to create a grip on the slope. This is what I've been told, and so if things start to melt, the snow should stay on the slopes longer than usual. And also up there are snow gutters, and these are placed high up on the peaks, and they can transfer the snow that falls high up there, and it's about 7,000 feet at its highest level at the Rosa-Hutor peak. That snow can then be transported down using these snow gutters to the areas where it's needed. So a lot of thought has gone into this, and it certainly has impressed the IOC officials.
There are some, not doubts, but fears, if you want, in regard to the weather, but that's nothing new. You cannot control it, we cannot control it. We had at every Olympics that I remember, we had some postponements of competitions because of fog or because of a big snowfall. It complicates things, but that can happen everywhere. There was absolutely nothing when they got the games in Guatemala. And it's an incredible job they did since then, because what we did in the Alps, in the Western Alps, in 150 years, Russia had to do that within 5-6 years. And it's incredible that they are ready nowadays with all the new infrastructure.
So he's a happy man, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we should have plenty of snow, the natural stuff or the artificial stuff if necessary.
Yeah, it's good to hear such high praise from the president of the International Ski Federation there. Andy, tell us what's in the mountain cluster that's drawn such an impression to figures like that.
Well, if you imagine 7 years ago, there was nothing here. It was just pretty much a natural landscape. But they've built, apart from Rosa-Hutor, the ski village, which is where I am at the moment, and developing Krasna Polyana, which is just down the road from here with lots of hotels. They've also developed 5 major sporting venues. The one which is closest to where I'm standing is the Ruski Gorky ski jumping centre. That's basically been built on a ridge which looms over Krasna Polyana. So if you're staying there, you'll certainly get a good view of that, and that actually has 2 ski jumps, and the smaller one will be used by women for the first time. It's the first time in Olympic history that they'll be competing in this event. Then, not far from here also, a little further up the mountain, is the Sankey Sliding Centre, and that's where the bobsleigh, the luge and the skeleton will take place. It is in fact the designers say the safest sliding track in the world, and that's because it has 3 little uphill sections to make sure that the riders don't actually go too fast and reach dangerous speeds. And the reason for that is we had that tragic accident and the death of the Georgian luger at the start of the Vancouver Games. So that's in place. And on a happier note, it could also be the place where Alexander Zubkov, the Russian bobslayer, gets gold in the 4-man bob. And he had a bit of limelight today, didn't he, when he carried the flag during the Russian flag during the opening ceremony. So he hopes to get back into the limelight. We then have the Rosa-Hutor Alpine Skiing Centre. That's where the alpine skiing will take place, the women's and the men's downhill, as well as the slalom. That's up at 6,000 feet. On a clear day, you do get splendid views up there of the Black Sea. The course itself has been described as very challenging and a bit of a leg burner, so it should be very entertaining for the spectators at least. And then we have the Extreme Park, and that basically is where we're going to see the snowboarding and freestyle skiing. The snowboarding, very entertaining too. The slope style has just been introduced to the Olympic Games this time round, and you'll see people doing jumps and riding the rails, and all the tracks that are up there funnel in to one amphitheatre for many thousands of spectators below, so it should be a tremendous atmosphere. And then finally we have the La Ora Biathlon and Cross Country Ski Centre. I think the clue is in the name. That is also purpose-built. There's a magnificent stadium up there too to hold 10,000 spectators. There's always a tremendous atmosphere for biathlon at any event, even World Cup events, never mind the Olympics, and it should be something special too. Apart from the sporting venues, we've got the villages for the athletes. Something like 2,000 are staying up there in the mountains. They're all staying in very nicely designed Alpine-style chalets. They too get really idyllic views of this area. It is beautiful, and you can even perhaps go onto Twitter and look at some of the pictures that the athletes have been posting, because they're worth seeing. And then down here where I am, it's the Rosa Hall Tour, a purpose-built ski village. Of course, the whole aim of this is to make sure that this is all here long after the Olympics have gone. And I'll be talking a bit more about that later on.
Yeah, great. It's lovely up there. Lovely bit of fresh air. I wish I could do it, but the centre of gravity is in my neck. I'm no good with skiing. I'd fall over. You're
we'll
good
have
at it.
a chance to go up.
You're any good at it?
Not very much, but we should try it.
I thought you'd excel. All right, now, not having enough snow isn't a new problem. Vancouver, of course, had to import it too for the previous Winter Games. The man that headed the preparation for those Olympics told us Sochi's taken advantage of that very experience and prepared accordingly. Let's take a listen.
We had not anticipated having no snow. In fact, you know, all of the science and the history and the technology said that snow would not be an issue for Vancouver. But you know, the weather changed, and in actual fact, following Christmas of 2009, there was a period of about a month before the games where we had no snow, and it became quite a crisis for us. And we had to go and find a remedy, or be the first country ever not to stage an event at the Olympic Games. So we went to work and we found a solution. It was extremely difficult and painful, but we overcame that, and we found enough snow to cover the mountain. The advantage that Sochi has is that they saw this happen. They were in Vancouver. They were part of our organizing committee. They had people in our team. We went to Sochi following the Olympic Games, and we shared this, and so Sochi has had the advantage of understanding that this can happen.
So then the snow's covered, the torch has been lit, the opening ceremony's happened. What an opening ceremony it was. Behind us, just to remind you again, if you just joined us, welcome, good to have you with us. The Olympic Park there behind us, this is the coastal cluster. You may be able to see the flame just burning in the distance there. It looks absolutely fantastic. By the way, Denise, some facts and figures here. I've been doing a bit of research. You could fit 7 of Moscow's red squares into this whole area that's been developed from scratch. There's nothing here before, really.
Wow, but it doesn't surprise me that organizers built such spacious media centers. There's another one in the mountain cluster we just spoke to Andrew from, and up to 15,000 people are working for different media companies from all over the globe, and they've arrived here to cover these games. Yeah,
we're talking about the competition. The competition's tough amongst the journalists as well. Indeed, the stakes are really high as well. The TV audience for the Sochi Olympics is predicted to be, I think, around 3 billion people worldwide.
And it's not just the traditional media that's on the bandwagon. Let's get back to Moscow for more on that.
Yeah, indeed, that was well, a big hello and a big goodbye to Kevin Owen and Anissa Nawe there live at our Sochi headquarters down for the Winter Olympics. Thanks very much, guys. Really enjoying your live special RT coverage tonight. We've got a lot of issues to cover here on RT International. In the studio with me, our intrepid explorer, James Brown. Kate Partridge as well is over here to my left, the host of World Sports. And just next to Kate is editor Ivor Crotty. Now, I wanted to talk to you, Ivor, mate, because the deal is this, that we've been watching a lot of buzz going on about the Olympics, not just, for example, from Facebook, not just from Instagram, but the Twitter sphere is going manic.
Sure,
Can you bring us up on some of your Twitter trending and tell me where's the chat and what's it all about?
Sure, by all means. If we can throw a graphic up on the wall, maybe.
By all means,
it
go
might
for
be
it.
A bit of fun. We've reached out to a group of people called TrendsMap. They've helped us. Let's come and have a look at this. TrendsMap have helped us put together a little platform where we've managed We've managed to have a look at where and how Sochi 24 is trending. It's a great piece of kit. It really is good fun. It's the kind of thing that's going to help drive our news content, I think, in RT in the coming years. But this is really just to give you an example of where the Twinter Olympics, as we're calling it,
the Twinter Olympics
is being played. Yeah, this is the great field of sport upon which the Twinter Olympics is being played. Actually, I just want to grab a piece of paper there because I wanted to remind you about some notes there. No, we can take it back on the cam. It's all right, guys.
Ivor, don't knock over the camera guy, please.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. Look, let's start with where this is happening. If you zoom in here, you'll see you can get some micro detail on the differences between, let's say, the coastal cluster and the mountain cluster, and see what people are working through,
what kind of photographs they're putting up, and particularly the athletes who we've liked to focus on. And the other interesting point for me was that there's an enormous concentration of tweeting going on in Australia.
Yeah, what's going on there? So just a lot of fans there, a lot of enthusiasm.
They have a pretty big team there, all right. And there's been some marvellous tweets from the Aussies. I think they get it, you see, because there's been so much slagging going on over the last couple of weeks about Sochi and stuff.
Yep.
But if we can bring up some of the tweets that we've been showing, the Team New Zealand guys posted a photograph shortly before they went on air. We went into the stadium of them doing a haka. There was a haka done for their flag bearer. US skating loved it.
Team Jamaica.
Our favourites.
There we go.
Heroes. Yeah, these guys are our two heroes right now.
Cool runnings.
Yeah. The Sochi team also put up a beautiful, beautiful photograph of the German Olympic team coming through, but it seems we're not getting our photographs up here. Great Britain, this comes back to Martin's stuff on the fashion stakes. They wore ushanki, which is like the policeman's helmets.
Oh, lovely, lovely.
Basically, yeah. But I want to give you a sense of what people are tweeting. These are athletes in the during the opening ceremony. Now, here's my Aussie, Anthony Sharwood. The single greatest rendition of any anthem I've ever heard. Congrats to the Sochi 2014.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's quality. Patrick Sandusky is head of communications with the US team. He absolutely loved the opening ceremony. Ollie Williams, though, if we can hold that one there, there's always going to be a naysayer. Ollie of the BBC found a stereotype to throw at the occasion, and said that the thumping music just played into all the stereotypes that the Brits know about the Russians, the evil Russians. Still playing James Bond.
Oh dear, oh dear. Lots of Cold Warriors still out and about. Ivor Crotty, that's really interesting, mate. Twitter trending.
Yeah,
certainly.
Look, we've taken the games very seriously from an online point of view. We've set up a bunch of very nice lists that viewers can drop into. They're event-based lists. So if you want to get a sense of a particular event and you want to see what the athletes are saying, their managers, their fans,
the whole lot.
Drop onto our Twitter list on RT.com. We've got a marvellous update site running where we're running minute by minutes of all the developments.
Also, though, RT on Instagram and RT International, of course, on Facebook as well. Showing the latest global updates.
We'll be running out some promotions on Facebook as well. I think there'll be opportunities for viewers to put some questions to some special guests later in the Olympics.
Can I just jump in for a moment? Because James Brown, our intrepid explorer who's sitting next to me, who's been all over Russia, following the flame everywhere, apparently he's got something underneath the desk that he's been hiding a bit. Go on.
Well, don't make it sound slightly so suspicious. But,
Go on.
Fine. I do have to bring this out because this is my own very special souvenir. After I'd seen so many people all over the country running with the Olympic torch, I got the chance to get one for myself.
But James, that should be down in Sochi, not here in Moscow.
Well, I do understand that, but I have to tell you that there are 14,000 of these.
14,000?
14,000 for the 14,000 torchbearers. Each one got the chance to own their individual torch. Now, I got mine when I was in Ufa in the south of Russia, and you get given it and you're suddenly part of this exclusive club, and you're high-fiving your fellow torchbearers. You're in the middle of a party, basically.
Yeah, you are,
waiting to do your run, and you've got maybe you've got 1 minute to run 200 metres, and you think, oh gosh, don't let it go out, please don't drop it, just let it all go smoothly.
Yeah, sure,
but you know that for just that time, you are the only person in the world who's holding the Olympic flame.
Come on, mate, James, hand it over here. Let's have a look. Let's have a... Whoa!
Is he heavy?
It's quite heavy, actually.
From Ufa, that is.
From Ufa, Bashkortostan?
That is...
well done!
That's my special...
That is beautiful. Here, Kate, have a go with this, my dear.
Can you light
mildly that heavy there. Mildly
take
heavy.
A Zippo to it?
Well, I think, if I had a handy security guard with one either side, but they do make sure that they're safe afterwards, because you can see at the very top, you've got where the fire has actually burned it. So that is the Olympic flame.
You can see the marks of it.
Marked into the torch.
James, I just feel that you've nicked it. You stole it, mate. I mean, that really should be done in Moscow. You're a cheeky boy.
I know Paul and Kevin and the guys are having a lovely time down there. They're also working very hard, but they're having a great time in weather considerably warmer than Moscow. But I don't think anybody's going to come home with a toy quite.
Well, fair enough. Now, listen, guys, if I can, before we head back down to Sochi, I do want to have a chat with Kate Partridge, of course. Everyone knows Kate, our host of RT World International Sports. Can you talk to us just a little bit, we haven't got much time, but a little bit about the Russian team and who have you got your eye on?
Well, we have the biggest Russian team there's ever been at a Winter Games, 223 athletes, and of course the star of the Games, as he's been so many times before, is Yevgeny Plushenko. Plushenko is almost like a Cinderella story this time round. 31 years old, been injured, was in huge doubt as to whether or not he would take part. He took part at the Russian Nationals. He came second to an 18-year-old. Then he couldn't compete at the Europeans, and we thought he's not going to make it. He did a behind closed doors trial. Now he's the darling of the Olympics. He's managed to take the team event, which is making its debut, and take Russia to the top, along with the pair skaters, so fingers crossed for the Russian team there. The pair skaters themselves, who are also backing up the Russian team, are Tatiana Volosojar and Maxim Trankov, and they're favourites to take the gold. They're already the world champions, the European champions, they're the world record holders when it comes to the short and long programmes. So they're really the hot favourites, along with Plushenko at the moment, see how he's doing in terms of taking gold in pair skating. But in terms of the daddy of the Russian team, there's only one. That's Alexander Zubkov, who's the bobsledder. He was the Russian flag bearer, as Andy alluded to earlier. He's 39 years old, in his 5th Olympics. He's going for gold. He's had silver and bronze before. He retired after Vancouver. Now it's his opportunity to go for gold. In terms of gold, though, that there was in Vancouver, that's Nikita Krukov and a chap who's also sort of backing him up, which is Alexander Legkov, and that's in the cross-country skiing. Now, Krukov is the classical sprint champion. He's also the favourite to take gold, the world champion. Legkov has done well at the, I think it's called the Tour de Ski, that's right. He beat Peter Northug and all the Norwegian contingent. So cross-country skiing, that's looking good for a medal there. And then also, in terms of looking good for a medal, is also Ivan Skobrev in the speed skating, in the longer version of the event. He's also going for gold. He's had Olympic silver and bronze before, and he turns 31 tomorrow. So what a lucky omen that might be for the Games. And in terms of the the shorter version, I should say, of the skating events, there's Viktor Ahn and Vladimir Grigoriev. Now, it's an interesting story there, because both of these guys have changed nationality. Because Viktor Ahn used to be Ahn Hyun-soo, who won 3 golds for South Korea in 2006, changed his nationality. He's now skating for Russia. And Vladimir Grigoriev, he's a Ukrainian, he's the European champion, and he's also changed his nationality. In terms of snowboarding, we have Yekaterina Tudegesheva. She was the first Russian female snowboarding champion in 2007, going for gold again. And finally, we couldn't talk about the Russian team without talking about the men's ice hockey team. It's the final event. It's the final event of the Olympics. As a Russian nation in its own right, they've never won the gold. 7 golds with the Soviet Union, 1 as the unified team in 1992, led by Pavel Datsuk, Yevgeny Malkin and Alexander Ovechkin. What a way to end the Games it would be if Russia could take gold at the final event.
Well, certainly they've got a lot of hopes going for them. I know the last Winter Olympics didn't go that well for Russia, so they've got the biggest team now in ages, and let's just see how they do. James, you know, listen, I've sat here, I've actually nicked your Olympic torch, and I was going to, no, I'm not going to give it back. So what we wanted to talk about, though, was the Sochi volunteers. Yeah. They're absolutely... Well, there are thousands of volunteers there, James, and we can speak to Lois Elizabeth Gilbert. Let's you and I have a chat with Lois Elizabeth Gilbert, joining us live here on RT International. Lois, hello, it's Rory Suchet here in Moscow. Thank you so much for joining us here so quickly. How were you selected for this, what must be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, the role of a volunteer at the 2014 Sochi Winter Olympics?
I was selected by... So I can't hear anything, actually. There's nothing going. I've lost.
Hello, Lois. I'm sorry. It's Rory again in Moscow. You were telling us how you were selected for the role of volunteer.
There's nothing. I don't get anything.
Okay, Lois, I'm terribly sorry. We've lost you there. Lois Elizabeth Gilbert will try and get her back as soon as possible here on RT International. She's a Sochi volunteer, a Canadian living in Moscow. In fact, James Brown, you've had a lot of experience, so you've met the volunteers. You know what they're getting into down there. Thousands in attendance. It must be a massive job.
Well, you have, I mean, these are the people, really, who are going to be the faces of these games. They have the opportunity and the challenge to show the very best of Russia. There are foreign volunteers, of course, like Lois, but the vast majority are Russians who will speak fluent English and many other languages, and they will be there organising people, guiding them to the right places, helping them out socially, trying to get them accustomed to Sochi and show them a bit of what Russia is really like. So they have been specially selected. Tens and tens of thousands of people applied for these roles, but only 25,000 were chosen. So it is very, very select.
All right, okay. Well, as you were suggesting there, though, we do know, in fact, we've got the volunteer back on the line here on RT International. Live to Sochi we go here on RT. I do apologise. Lois, it's Rory again in Moscow. Hello again. Nice to see you again. You were just telling us here on the programme how did you get selected for a role such as this, to be a volunteer at the Olympics? It's a pretty amazing position to be in.
definitely is. This is my third Olympics. I did Vancouver and London, and you go through the same process. It's a 2-year waiting time for, you have an interview, a Skype interview. I was lucky enough that I live in Moscow, so I had a face-to-face interview, and then you just wait. And finally in October I heard, and I was pretty excited because it really is a great opportunity, and I've got the Olympic bug anyway, so
it seems to me they picked the right person for the job, Lois. I can see that big smile on your face, Lois. And my colleague James Brown is sitting next to me. James wants to ask you a question as well, because he's been amid the throes of crowds there. James, carry on.
Hi, Lois. It sounds like you've already got
Hi,
a lot.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I wanted to find out, you obviously have got quite a lot of experience having done the Olympics before. How have you been preparing for these games?
For these games, well, actually, I was working in the Moscow office, so I was doing some interviewing for the international volunteers, and also helping with the visa process for them as well. So, and then just getting really excited about it all. I have my sister here working, she's a volunteer as well, and my daughter's coming for the Paralympics. I have a cousin here, so it's running in our family, actually.
It certainly is an absolute family event there. Lois Elizabeth Gilbert joining us live here on RT International. Wishing you all the best for the 2014 Winter Olympics, and thank you very much indeed for volunteering yourself to be a volunteer and to help with the ongoing Olympics. Thank you very much indeed, Lois. Well, we continue our live special coverage here on RT International. I'm Rory Suchet. Let's toss it back to Kevin Owen and Anissa Nawe, and back to you guys.
Yeah, nice to see you put that Olympic torch down again. I never thought you were going to leave that alone. But talking about flames, fly on the flames for equality, it's a bit of a turn, but we need to talk about it big time.
That's
a
right.
big issue cropped up,
It
didn't
was
it,
a big PR issue prior to the Sochi 24 Olympics. The controversy connected with the ban on gay propaganda to minors, which of course came into force in Russia last year. It caused huge uproar among LGBT communities worldwide and stirred much hype in the foreign media. It's still going on.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the indignation took pretty exotic form, with bartenders spilling vodka. You may recall the streets and celebrities lining up to lambast the law. Politicians and LGBT activists harangued Russian authorities, and its most ardent critics went indeed as far as calling for a boycott of those Olympics. Wasn't the most successful call, though, was it, end of the day?
No, IOC officials repeatedly stated that Russia's law banning gay propaganda to minors does not violate the Olympic Charter's anti-discrimination clause, and that they are fully satisfied with President Putin's words that everyone, notwithstanding religion, nationality, or sexual orientation, are welcome to Sochi 2014.
Well, earlier we spoke to Caitlin Cahill, one of 3 openly gay athletes in the US delegation. She says she doesn't think the Olympic spirit's going to suffer here.
I'll be representing the United States with pride as an openly gay citizen. So while that may lead to a bit of controversy, I don't have any questions about my own safety. I think that within the boundaries of the Olympic Games, the spirit is positive and optimistic and open-minded, and I'm hoping to share that same experience along with the spectators and citizens of Russia. What I really hope we all see in Russia is the dedication and devotion not only of the Russian people to put on an extraordinary Winter Olympic Games, and I have every reason to expect that this Olympic Games will be exceptional in every way, but also to the volunteers on the ground. That's what makes the Olympics possible, the devotion of the volunteers, their sacrifice, their support. By far and away, they're the most important part of the Olympic Games.
Well, calls for a boycott drew a very negative reaction from Vice President of the International Olympic Committee, Mario Piscante.
È un palcoscenico unico, fashion globale.
A certain type of politics, I'd say bad politics, has repeatedly tried to hijack the Games in an attempt to cash in on their popularity. In 1980, my country joined the boycott of the Moscow Olympics. Our team carried no flag and competed with no name. We weren't even called Italy. All this because Carter believed the Soviet Union had to be punished for an invasion of Afghanistan. 34 years later, there is still war in Afghanistan, and now it involves Italian and US troops. Later, there were requests to boycott the Seoul Games, then the Beijing Games, and now Sochi. I am tired of seeing the Olympics being exploited again and again for a variety of causes. Of course, gay rights are worth fighting for, but the Games should not be used as a political stage to discuss all sorts of moral, civil and social issues. Perhaps this gay propaganda ban didn't come at the right time. That being said, Russian politics is efficient and has approached the issue with intelligence. Therefore, I'm absolutely certain that gay athletes will feel perfectly at home in Sochi. As for the absence of certain international leaders from the Games, here in Italy we have a saying: an absentee is always in the wrong.
Let's not dwell too much on the absentees. Let's talk about more of the dignitaries indeed that are here tonight, as more national leaders indeed will be at these games than any other Winter Olympics in history.
That's right. More than 40 heads of state were present at the opening ceremony, and at least 60 will visit Sochi as these games progress.
Now, to put that into a bit of perspective, that's almost twice as many as were present at the previous games in Vancouver back in 2010.
What's more, many of these visiting leaders perhaps surprisingly come from countries that are not the closest friends.
I guess shown indeed, end of the day, that the spirit of the Games can bridge even the deepest chasms. So then, in a matter of years, the humble seaside resort of Sochi then has been turned into a modern and fashionable sporting hub.
Well, what will happen to all those facilities once the Olympic season winds up in March? Let's find out from RT's Paul Scott. I hope we can join him live. He's down in the coastal cluster, as it's called, of Sochi.
Hi,
yes,
Paul.
A few moments ago, guys, I gave you a miniature tour. Good evening to you, Kevin. A few moments ago, I gave you guys a bit of a guided tour around the 6 venues that we've got in the coastal cluster in Sochi. And I suppose the question on many viewers' lips will be, well, what's going to happen to those stadiums once those Olympic Games, or once these Olympic Games are over? Well, the fact is that the legacy is the word that organisers of these games have been talking about for some time. It's what organisers of every Olympic Games talk about, and they have plans for all the venues. Let me just talk you through what's going to happen in the coastal cluster. First of all, the Ice Cube Curling Centre that I mentioned, the one that houses 3,000 people, and the Shy Bar Arena, which is where 7,000 people are going to be watching ice hockey matches. Both of those venues are so state-of-the-art that they can be dismantled and removed to different parts of the country. So you could soon see the Shy Bar Arena in St. Petersburg, or the Ice Cube Curling Centre moved to Khabarovsk or Yekaterinburg, for example. So there's no problems with the legacy there. Now, the Bolshoi Ice Dome, that's going to continue to host sporting competitions and also concerts. So it's going to be a bit of a cultural hub once these games are over. Now, the Adler Arena, the one I mentioned, the long, flat, low one that's hosting the speed skating, and also the Iceberg Skating Palace. Those 2 venues are going to be rehoused as they're going to remain where they are. The Adler Arena is going to become an exhibition centre, and well, the Iceberg Skating Palace is going to become a cycling velodrome. So the sporting legacy is going to continue here in Sochi, and of course the Fish Stadium is going to remain in place, and it's going to host games during the 2018 Football World Cup when that comes to Russia. We'll have more on that in a few moments' time. And staying in the Olympic Village down in the coastal cluster, I mentioned the Athletes Village, and I can tell you as well that that's going to become, I can tell you what will happen to that in a few moments' time, but there's even a plan for the massive media centre I told you about, where all the world's journalists are going to be. That's going to have a life after these games as well. Let's take a listen to what the city's mayor has to say about that.
All the Olympic venues were initially designed to play more than one role. For instance, there's the media centre at the Olympic Park, where your colleagues are already working. Right after the Games, the centre will turn into a shopping mall and recreation centre. The new amusement park, like a Russian Disneyland, is something the country has never had before. The newly built hotels will operate all year round. All these venues are supposed to attract visitors to conferences, forums, exhibitions and sports events. We have really good residential facilities with first-class amenities. All these venues are our infrastructural foundation for tourism development.
Well, I briefly mentioned there the Athletes' Village and what's going to happen to those 47 buildings. Some of them are going to be turned into hotels and used all year round. Of course, the hope is, the legacy is that Sochi becomes a hotspot, a tourist destination for people from all over the world. And the ones that aren't turned into hotels are going to be turned into apartments to increase housing in the region as well. That's what's happening in the coastal cluster. But what about the venues up in the mountain cluster? My colleague Andrew Farmer now reports.
When Russia won the right to host these Olympics, there wasn't even a paved road leading to the Rotohu, never mind a telecabin. But now look at it. It is a fully fledged European-style ski village. There are hotel chains here, as well as restaurants and cafes, and there's even a nightclub around the corner. But this place is in it for the long haul, because long after the Olympics have packed up and gone home, it's hoped that many thousands of tourists will come here for decades to come. There's something like 60 kilometres worth of ski runs in 3 ski areas around this place, and that is set to be expanded. So this little tour, even though it's been short, does show that there's much more to these Olympics than just sporting venues. It's all about the overhaul and the entire regeneration of a region.
Paul, this sporting framework lays a great foundation. Any more grand sports events in store for Sochi?
Well, it's a huge decade of sports in Russia, and in particular for Sochi. We've already touched on the Winter Olympics, but later this year in October, Formula One is going to make a return to Russia for the first time in exactly 100 years. Formula One was run on Russian territory, was run in 1913 and in 1914 in St. Petersburg, but it didn't reappear after the First World War and didn't appear during Soviet times either. There were plans and talks about getting Formula One to return to Russia as long ago as 1983, so this has been 30 years in the making. But Formula One is coming to this region. It's going to be known as it's going to be the 3rd longest track in the calendar, behind Spa in Belgium and Silverstone in Britain as well. It's the first time, as I say, in 100 years that Formula One has been on Russian territory. But perhaps even more significantly is the fact that the Football World Cup is coming to Russia in 2018, and the Fisht Stadium that's hosted the opening ceremony this evening is going to be hosting one of the games during the Football World Cup. And if we think that the focus of the world is on Russia and in Sochi right now, then we should wait 4 years' time for the Football World Cup to arrive, because that really is one of the biggest sporting events on the planet.
It is indeed. Paul Scott reporting to us down from the coastal cluster, where, of course, tonight's main event was the opening ceremony. And in fact, joining us now is someone who was there watching the entire thing, RT's producer Daria Shulga. Thanks for coming in. I know you ran here as fast as you could.
Yes, that's what happened, actually. It was massive. This is the word that I would use. And really, I'm not kind of out of it yet, because I'm still, you know, I was running. I came in there running because we had some other stuff.
Oh, you're always late for everything, even for this.
You'd say so, but still. I came in, there was some music playing, some Russian artists. Then all of a sudden, there was like this massive countdown on this huge screens. When everything started, there was this Russian alphabet going on video, basically. And then it was the story well, then it was the Russian flag and the hymn. It was very beautiful, and the choir was singing. And well, what I want to say is that people around me, they were all cheering to every single thing that was happening on the floor, basically. I was up on top, and I think you guys used some of my Instagram
How big is it in there?
pictures.
What does it feel like in the Fisht Stadium?
You know, I think, well, I couldn't realize how big it is, actually, until you could see those huge decorations floating on this floor when they were coming to you, and when you can see cars, actual size. But for me, as I was sitting on the top, they were so small, and I could understand that it was big.
Well, we were watching it on the screen here, and some of those 3D graphics that they were shot from an aerial camera, just at one moment I didn't I didn't understand that it was real, that it was actually people walking on it, and it wasn't just some kind of cartoon or something they've thrown to. You seem a little bit shooken up, as if you've been.
Yes,
it was emotional, and you're Russian, of course. So this for you, what does that mean in terms of your country and it being
I
here?
had tears in my eyes at some points. There was the part that I liked the most was the one about Moscow. It was basically called Moskva, and it was Soviet music playing, this kind of skyscrapers getting out of the floor, and you could see how big it is. And then of course Russian ballet with the dancing and with everything, and the woman who was sitting next to me, like up a bit down, she was literally crying. And
it went through the entire Russian history, basically.
Yeah, basically that's what it was. That's what it was, and it started off with the founding of Russia, and it went through some. Well, it was called in the program that I have in my hands right now. It basically says that it was festivity, but that was basically the ancient kind of Russia. Then it went to the Peter the Great times with the great graphics on the floor, black and white, and people marching, and even cannons.
What did Putin have to say? Every time this happens, of course, the leader of the host country gets to say a sentence, no more than a sentence, otherwise they break the protocol. Back in 2002, George Bush broke the protocol. What did Putin have to say there? It was a quick sentence, was it?
It was. It was just the announcement that the games are
short and to the point.
Started. Yeah, that's
not something you see with him quite often.
Yeah.
He can go on for.
I'm actually jealous to you guys because you could see those fireworks from here.
Stunning.
Because we couldn't see them because we were inside. And basically, it was all for the people who are watching TV, I think. Yeah.
But we were jealous of you because you were inside, so hey, we're quits.
So yeah, I think here's the deal as we have. So yeah, I'm delighted that I had this opportunity to see that, and I could say that there were no empty seats. When I was there, I had messages from my friends asking why there are empty seats.
There was a few.
Yeah, the camera shot was showing empty seats, but that was because they'd be filled by the
the sportsmen.
Yeah,
and,
as they came in.
As it kicked off, I had so many messages from my friends. What's that? Why? What's happening? And yeah, that's what it was.
What's wrong your neck? What's wrong your neck?
That's my own medal.
Gimme.
2014. No.
Does it light up?
No.
Because I know the audience all have.
Yes.
Tell us about the lights that the audience.
So the light. Well, basically, we had this, and I have no idea how this works. But at some point, it just lights up with different colors.
So you just wear it, and the light is all random.
That's how it works. And I don't really know.
We should examine that later.
as I was coming upstairs right now, it actually had some yellow and blue lights.
Too bad it hasn't gone off while you've been here. Can we keep your program?
Yes, guys. You can
have a look at it during maybe one of our breaks.
Darren, nice to see you.
Nice
you had a super night. You had best job of the night, I think.
Thank you.
We're not doing so bad if you mind, I have to say, are we, Nish?
Don't be jealous.
All right, see you later.
Thanks so much.
Well, all the sports venues are, of course, focused here, but it's fair to say that they're only the tip of the Olympic iceberg, really, end of the day. The residents of Sochi have received a hefty heritage here, of course. The infrastructure of the resort's been hugely transformed, something locals are already enjoying.
Well, let me just give you an idea of how much effort has been put into this. More than $37 billion went on regional improvement, which actually makes up more than half of the entire budget. The brand new power station took, I should say, among the biggest bites, over $800 million. Close behind is the state-of-the-art airport at around $700 million.
Yeah, initially, you know, when the press are talking about these figures and how the money's being spent, you kind of don't think about that sort of thing, but it's just seeing the power station here, now you can see all the money's been poured into it. Okay, well, you didn't even recognise the city as well when you came here, and it's difficult to recognise from above as well, isn't it? Because so many roads have changed.
Right, and it's a new airport.
Yeah, those roads have been expanded to 360 kilometres. In fact, again, the money's gone on there. And if you don't want to drive, there's an extra 200 kilometres of railroad built from scratch as well. So even when the Olympic circus has long packed up and gone, Sochi's residents and tourists, they're going to enjoy the perks of the event's legacy for a lot of years to come, aren't they?
I'm glad you mentioned the tourists, because after the Games, they will get several new hotels to choose from. Plus, 3 new residential areas have been built in Sochi for those who'd like to stay a bit longer.
Yeah, and as for that media centre, we were talking about it earlier on, huge place. You get 7 red squares in there, couldn't you? that's going to swap the reporters for retailers. It's due to become a shopping mall if that all goes to plan. But how does it all compare to other cities which had the honour of hosting the Games? Well, Martin Andrews can tell us more. He's here now.
We're going to have to
Martin
wait for him
Andrews.
for
Hello,
a second
Martin.
to come
He's put his
join
microphone
us.
on.
Having a bit of fun.
Martin's
here.
had a very busy week. He's going to be with us, of course.
He actually, I just want to give our audience a little bit of background about Martin. He's been coming here for 7 years on and off ahead of these Olympics, has been here throughout this year, and has already been in Sochi this time around for a week.
That's right, I have. Actually, the reason why I'm late is because I was busy doing Facebook and Twitter and answering a million emails and questions.
Doing the jobs of
We're talking about
people.
the legacy of it, what it's left for the people.
Well,
You've seen the change. You've seen how Sochi's changed over these years.
I did a program series. I travelled to 75 cities around Russia. I did Wayfarer, which is a popular show on Russia in the early days of RT, and I came to Sochi a few months after it was announced, and it was literally a village. I mean, obviously there's lots of controversies surrounding the 51 billion or whatever that's spent, but people, as Thomas Bach said, the president of the IOC, you have to realise that this has gone from a village to a gigantic city.
So looking out the window here, this huge site, the size of Monaco, we kind of worked out. What was there before all this?
Nothing. It was literally nothing, and it's very, very important to tell people at home that it's very confusing because really we're not in Sochi now. We're in the area of Adler, the old holiday resort. Sochi itself is almost an hour away to the left. And if you go to the right, almost past the airport, another 45-minute journey, which was originally an old mountain road, that takes you to the area of Krasnaya Polyana, which was literally 7 years ago one ski slope, and that was it. Now the whole area has transformed, and really we've got so much to look forward to for the future.
Tell us about what people, there's so many spectators here, what can they do in Sochi aside from the Games? They're going to have some time between all of the events, yes?
They can, and I also want to say that one thing I was sort of very worried about was the traffic, because the traffic in Sochi is actually famously worse than Moscow. But they have built all these roads, like hundreds of kilometres of railroads and motorways. But there is lots to do, but I'm going to not talk about it now. I've got a little package which I want to share with you about the cultural activities you can enjoy here in the wonderful city of Sochi. Take a look. Skiing, shopping, sunbathing, partying. Sochi has it all. Surrounded by the snow-capped Caucasus Mountains and the glistening waters of the Black Sea, coupled with its subtropical climate, arguably the longest city in Europe at over 140 kilometres, Sochi is now officially on the international map. The whole region has many attractions to offer for anyone who loves nature, wildlife, sport, history, entertainment and nightlife, among others. And the region today is a far cry from its Soviet past. The whole area of Sochi has drastically changed since my first visit several years ago. As you can see, it's bright, sunny, clean and secure. It just really does feel like most European cities that I visited. And as for the atmosphere, well, you can really almost feel and cut the excitement in the air here. This week sees thousands of foreigners here for the Olympics. So how safe do visitors really feel?
I feel safe, man. I'm not worried about nothing. You know what I'm worried about?
Things like you going out with your couple of friends, you have a good time, everything's safe, police guys, every single corner. So what else you can ask for?
We've had a great time in Sochi so far. We spent the last 2 days just walking around, experiencing it. We've had a great time. We're going to come out tonight and hang out with the locals.
Hotels, nightclubs, restaurants, old and new, all are welcoming the influx of new visitors this week. Western brands and chains have come here in their hundreds to set up shop here. It's not been an easy road. A learning curve for some, and there have been issues of locations not finished and peculiar designs, booking problems and obvious cultural differences being shared on social media. A few teething problems perhaps, but one place that's managed to iron them out is the Russian Seasons Deluxe Hotel, situated opposite the Olympic Park. It offers plush accommodation and a sensational location, and features an indoor swimming pool, a fitness centre and a spa centre with sauna. One of the many accommodation options available. There's also a vast array of eateries to entice the taste buds. This is the restaurant Chaika, located on the second floor of the historical seaport terminal, and makes the most out of this great location. Serving mostly Italian cuisine, grab a coffee, relax and enjoy the views over Sochi's picturesque port. At At the Diaghilev restaurant, I've been asked to taste the famous Anna Pavlova dessert, a meringue-based dish named after the Russian ballet dancer.
The dessert was created to celebrate Anna Pavlova's visit to New Zealand in 1926.
Spasiba, thank you very much, thank you. Wow, well, they say the proof is in the pudding, so let's try. Absolutely gorgeous.
Often called the unofficial summer capital of Russia, or the Black Sea Pearl, Sochi is Russia's biggest and busiest summer sea resort, attracting more than 4 million visitors annually. And with Formula One stopping by later this year to the World Cup in 2018, the city of Sochi will continue to hog the limelight for some time to come. In the meantime, stroll down the promenade, take a cable car in the mountains of Krasnaya Polyana, or relax with a cool drink under the rays of the sun. A trip to Sochi is something you will never forget. Martin Andrews, RT, Sochi.
Fantastic. Nice bit of Pavlova there as well. Just before Martin disappeared as well, he had a bit of hot gossip, but we can't verify it. It's from his various contacts. He said Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie may be here. I don't know.
Who knows? Maybe we'll see them around the town. I'm sure Martin will find them.
Of course, it's a world-class event watched around the world. We wanted to see how it was watched around the world. Polly Boyker, our correspondent, was in London. She went to a sports bar there. Let's take a look.
When it comes to the start of the Olympics, it's not yet about the sport, but it is all about the opening ceremony. And over the years, the extravaganza has been getting bigger, grander and longer. It's one of those rare events that viewers across the globe are going to be tuning into. And in this bar, Londoners are gathering to take in the spectacle over a pint or two. Are you excited for the Winter Olympics to start?
Oh yeah, it's going to be brilliant. Yeah, it's great.
Are you going to be cheering for Team GB?
Of course, who else?
Looking forward to watching Jamaica and their bobsleigh team.
And what about Team GB? Are you going to be rooting for them in any particular
of course. Yeah. What's the girl that's doing the skeleton bobsleigh? Yeah, root for her.
I always watch the biathlon and the cross-country skiing. That's my favourite.
Which particular disciplines are you going to be
Tobogganing. Yeah.
Kind of like the slalom, like the bobsleighs, like the ice dancing.
I love the Summer Olympics, so we're watching the winter ones as well.
It will be nice. It will be nice if they can follow the same as they did the Summer Olympics and hopefully bring home some gold, but who knows?
Britain's most successful medal hauler to Winter Games was back in 1924 when they brought back 4 medals. Mind you, just 16 nations took part in those particular games. But this year, Britain has over 50 athletes in Sochi who are no doubt enthused by Britain's success at the previous Summer Games that were hosted in the UK under 2 years ago. And this year, they're going to be hoping for a record number of medals at these Winter Games, and they're going to be cheered on by their fans from the comfort of their local. Polly Boyko, RT, London.
Talk of the town in London and Britain as well over a pint or two. Nice to have a bit of fun. Now, talking of fun, Martin's back with us again.
Did you know, by the way?
Synonymous with fun, but hey.
That's right. A fact that not many people know. The area of Sochi is officially the longest city in Europe at around 146 kilometres. So you know. Very, very
good at a pub quiz. Also, opening tomorrow.
The excitement of tomorrow, yes. Sochi Land is opening. It's Russia's first Western theme park. It's actually situated right next to the Olympic Park. And I'm excited about those roller coasters, the Amerikansky Gorky, which are situated behind 3 gigantic roller coasters in the whole Russian theme.
We shall not let you get any more excited. We'll let you bottle it up for tomorrow.
No, I've got parties to go to.
Oh, that's it. It's always the same. That's it from us from tonight. We should be so lucky. We're off to bed. You're off to bed. You're up early in the morning.
Come the party.
That's right. They promised the Olympic opening ceremony would be one to remember, and if you ask me personally, I think they certainly delivered.
From us, very good night. Thanks for watching. We'll be back with much more from Sochi over the next 3 weeks. From all of us, bye-bye.